presence at this time, over. Solid copy. Hitman 2-3, Echo 5 Foxtrot. This is Hitman 2 actual.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Powers coming at you from the Commander's Voice. Today, I have two guests from the United Kingdom that I'm very excited to have on. We're going to be talking about a project that is near and dear to their heart, and it's going to be very exciting. I think all the airborne enthusiasts are going to be very interested in what we have to talk about today. I would like to introduce Mr. Darren Bond and Mr. Adam Berry from Mission 82. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
Thanks
for
for
having
having
me.
us.
So, Darren, I'm going to start with you 'cause since you and I are, I'm going to dare to use the term friends. I will presume on that. We've
Yeah,
had
that's that.
had a
I'm with
had
you on that.
a we've had a friendship over social media for the past couple of years. So I know that you are a big proponent of airborne forces, a big proponent of the United States Army Airborne Forces who were stationed in England prior to D-Day during World War II. And there's a lot of memorialization for soldiers of all allied nations who fought and died in combat. Those killed in action are rightly remembered for their sacrifice and their contribution. There's less focus on soldiers who were killed in training, and training for war is a very dangerous proposition. And those troopers, in your opinion and Adam's opinion, equally deserve memorialization. So, if with that little setup, could you tell us what Mission 82 is all about, and Adam will pull you in as the conversation rolls.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mission 82 was started at, I guess, probably about a year, 18 months ago, between myself and Adam. And it's a case of we're both passionate about the 82nd Airborne. We both live in and around the area where the 82nd Airborne were stationed in the UK in 1944. And through research and previous memorial projects, we've discovered 10 plus 10 men of the 82nd Airborne that were killed here in the UK in 1944, and all down to a series of different train accidents and tragic other circumstances. So it sort of dawned on us the significance of 2026, and that is in brackets, dare I say it, the sort of 82nd year of the 82nd Airborne being in the UK, and the 82nd year of these men's deaths. And we felt, I guess, kind of sort of the need really to memorialize these men, and sort of tipping a hat at the significant date that was coming up when we sort of first had the idea. And then that's where Mission 82 is kind of, like a lot of research and a lot of ideas, snowballs. And we've been sort of on that sort of quest ever since. So we've discovered, or we're memorializing 10 men from three different sort of tragic sort of circumstances and different units of the 82nd. I don't know if Adam wants to sort of carry on from there.
Happy to, yeah. I mean, as Dad said, the primary purpose of the mission is to try and get these guys' names in more ways than one written in stone, because they weren't combat casualties. Some of them are mentioned in history books, but they're not particularly prominent. So, as mentioned, three locations really, but all manner of different circumstances behind their deaths. So one of the memorials will be in the town of Hinckley in Leicestershire, which from around April 1944 through to September 44 was home to the 376th Parachute Field Artillery Battalion. And three members of that battalion actually died actually two of them died whilst the battalion was stationed there. Another one died in Hinckley in October 44 for reasons we're not really sure why he was back in Hinckley at that time. But anyway, that's by the by. But in that particular instance, we're looking at a guy, John Davey, who died of a parachute malfunction on a training exercise in May 1944 with the 504th Regimental Combat Team. We're looking at a guy who sadly suffered a heart attack playing baseball. And then we're looking at the third guy who died in a Jeep accident. So we're looking to make sure that those men are recognised, but also Hinckley, although it does have a memorial to the 376th, it is a tiny glass plaque that is on the side of somebody's house at the site of one of their camps. And so this memorial will serve two purposes. It will be a memorial for the three guys that died, but it'll also be a memorial for the 376th who deserve something a bit better than what we currently have.
Oh, that's fantastic. This would be a good place for me to ask a question if you're all right with that, Adam.
Absolutely.
So I'll start with you, Adam, then Des. I'd be very interested if you chimed in. You've already given me like three different avenues I want to pursue. The first one I'm very interested in is I appreciate your interest in the 82nd Airborne Division due to the proximity of where you gentlemen are. Have you found as you pursue this, people are enthusiastic about it, or are there more questions of, well, what about, everybody loves the 101st. What about the 101st? What about our own, UK troops? What about the 1st Airborne Division, the 6th? What about the, 1st Independent Polish Parachute Brigade? Are people trying to introduce their pet rocks into what you're doing, or is there a generally support for what you guys are trying to accomplish?
But for the most part, it's support. Obviously, we do, and me and Daz do sort of tongue-in-cheek joke about it a lot. We do fight against the wave of sort of Band of Brothers forward slash 101st fans that are out there, which is absolutely fine. I would say that very rarely do I ever get asked, why the Americans, why not the Brits? Generally speaking, particularly if you go into the towns where units like 376, for example, were billeted, and other towns like Quorn, where the 505th were, the locals are really, really accommodating. They're really great with it, and they're very, very supportive. I mean, I can't think of any places off the top of my head that have been difficult in any way, that have made the process harder than it needs to be. Yeah, generally it's been, in my opinion anyway, it's been, it's pretty good. The support locally in particular is very good.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree. From each site, because we're working with local parish councils, local town councils, local businesses are supporting us. So the sort of the interest and the uptake and support has been phenomenal. So yeah, we're really lucky for that, because it only takes, one potential spanner to, offset the whole project. And I've come across that before, with previous memorials. So yeah, it's been a sort of godsend really, that to have the local interest and support.
That's terrific. Do you think it's since, as you said, this is the 82nd year of the troops of the division being in your region preparing for D-Day, do you think since we're right around the big celebrations, the 75th, the 80th, there was enough interest for y'all to capitalize on? Or was there initially any weariness, like, hey, we're a little World War II'd out, let's take a step back?
I think, I'm sure Daz will agree. We've both done memorials for the 82nd in the past, and it can be really difficult. Being careful what I say here, you do get promised a lot, and then when it comes down to it, some of those promises don't really stick, if that makes sense. So you go into these things with a lot of a lot of vigor, a lot of passion, and a lot of energy, which we still have, but then you realize the fundraising side of it in particular is really, really difficult. Um, so yeah.
I think as well, because obviously, Normandy and Holland and stuff like that, they're really big into anniversaries, and the combat that was fought in their areas. So where I think, and this is kind of like one of the corners me and Adam are trying to fight really, is the 82nd and other units had a significant part of the history were being based here, but the UK really isn't really geared up, doesn't really have that sort of regular remembrance service, regular sort of anniversary of. So I guess we're kind of earmarking the 82nd in 2026, and trying to promote that history locally because that's a significant event, which I think is kind of working in our favour. Really, I don't think we're sort of having any come up against any hurdles because of that.
No, that's terrific. Now, once you said you've done memorials in the past, once a memorial is actually in place, do they tend to become a focus for a local annual memorial, or is it more a lasting testament, but there's not an annual ceremony with the memorial as the centerpiece?
Well, we here in the UK, we celebrate Memorial Day when you guys do. We also have the Armistice weekend. So on November the 11th, we have we have an event signifying obviously the end of the First World War. But any in the case where in my case, for example, one of the memorials that I did was at Tollerton Hall, or the village of Tollerton in Nottinghamshire, which is where the 507th Parachute Infantry Regiment were camped prior to D-Day, and up until August when they were transferred to the 17th Airborne Division and they moved down south. In order to make that memorial more publicly accessible, the memorial wasn't built on the grounds where the campsite was. It was built next to the village's First World War memorial. So the great thing about that is that when the village comes together for their Armistice Day parades, they factor the 507 memorial into their ceremony, which is great. In other locations where they're a little bit more remote, it's not quite as easy for them to do that. But I think where they can, in the other memorial I did, I can go over there after Armistice Day, and there will always be a rosette of poppies on there, so I know that someone's been there and put them there.
That's lovely.
Which is always great to see. So I think people generally tend to do what they can.
Understood. So now we've kind of set the stage here, what your motivation is, what you have done in the past, the level of support. What is the big project for 2026? What's kind of the centerpiece of what you gentlemen are working on right now, and how can people support it?
So, in the case we're gearing up to the three memorials being unveiled, and the unveilings are all sort of significant to particular dates in 2026. So the first one is Adam's described as in Hinckley town centre, and that unveiling is being on May the 9th, 2026, and that's the nearest Saturday to the 82nd anniversary of John Davies' death, which was on May the 7th, 1944. So that's the first one in May in Hinckley. The second one is going to be on June the 6th, on D-Day anniversary. It's Banho Airfield, and that is the day after the anniversary of June the 5th, where the men of the 505th were killed, loaded onto the C-47s and killed in a gamma grenade accident. And then the third memorial is going to be on August 29th, Saturday, August the 29th, at Forbeck Airfield. And that's in remembrance of the three 508 guys that were killed on Forbeck Airfield on September 2nd, 1944. So they're the closest Saturday to mark the anniversary of each accident, or one of the significant dates like the Hinckley one.
Now go ahead, Des, please continue.
I was just going to say, so we are, all guns blazing, trying to, at the minute, continue fundraising money. As Adams said, this is a crowd-funded project. So it's essentially, we're going cap in hand to local businesses, organizations, individuals to, essentially trying to fundraise the money for this. So we're in the process of trying to do that, as well as all the back office stuff you can probably not think about, insurance and hiring portaloos and, catering and displays and all this kind of stuff that, because for me, and I think, for Adam as well, it's a case of, we want the day to be a significant day. It's going to be, the unveiling is going to be unveiled with 4 military honours. Hopefully have UK Armed Forces, US Armed Forces, local dignitaries. So we have to send out invitations to local dignitaries and put all the sort of, put all those things in place, really. So that's where sort of the snowball is rolling out for, and time. And Adam would have probably agreed. We're now in 2026. We're talking
Yes,
months away.
It's
And
I was just sitting here thinking that's 5 months away. That's a lot of work.
yeah, yeah. We've done it before. I'm quietly confident we can do it, but we still need people's help. We're still fundraising. We still haven't reached our total for the project. So if anyone can support, whether it's a couple of bucks, a couple of pounds, it all makes a significant difference to remember these men. These, as has been touched on, these men were killed under sad, tragic circumstances. And then, like Adam said, for the most part, really, they don't feature in history books. And I think from what Adam's researched, what we've researched, they've all were previous combat veterans. They either served in the MTO or served in Normandy. So these guys were combat veterans. They just sadly died in a slightly different way. So they need to be remembered.
So again, you guys give me so many cool things that I want to ask about. So I'm going to take the conversation one direction, then another. My first question is: you mentioned the incident at Spanhoe, and that's probably the biggest non-combat mass casualty event that everybody knows about or thinks about when they think about the 82nd in England. Is that is Spanhoe the focal point of an annual memorialization anyway, or is it usually not well attended during D-Day memorials or anything like that, or is it just an abandoned area right now? What is the environment like?
Spano is still it's still like a hobbyist airfield.
Oh, okay.
There's no runway there anymore. It's just a grass strip, and there are some hangars and people keep aircraft there. But there's a couple of memorials that already exist at the entrance to the site, because Spanhoe, obviously, aside from the fact that obviously the 82nd flew from there on D-Day, the 82nd flew from there again for Market Garden, but also British paratroopers flew from Spanhoe for Market Garden. So there's memorials to the 315th Troop Carrier Group there, and to the British paratroopers that flew from Spanhoe for Market Garden. And I think, generally speaking, on the anniversary period, people do go there, and they do remember significant milestones in terms of the history of the airfield. But it's not a significant site. It's not like it's not the sort of place that is signposted from miles around. You come across it.
Understood.
And you see it. But if you know it's there, obviously it's great. But yeah, it's not what it was.
Understood. So, Daz, I want to come back to you. You were mentioning that, it's sort of the every little bit helps fundraising. Is there a place that folks can go online where they can put a donation? And if so, could you share that with us? And also be sure to put it in the comments. But if you could just, give a plug right now, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we've got a Facebook page, Mission 82 Facebook page. So this is where we're trying to share some contents and pictures. But we have a Just Giving page also called Mission 82. So that's our sort of fundraising page. So if you can't find the Just Giving page, you can find the Facebook page, and there's links in between. But yeah, Mission 82 on Facebook, and Mission 82 on the Just Giving website. So
Fantastic.
Again, any couple of dollars would be much appreciated.
Very cool. Now, this is an open-ended question for both of you. Obviously, 2026, you guys have articulated very clearly why this is a significant milestone and the amount of effort you're putting into this. Is this sort of the last surge for your big memorial drive, and then you're going to take a break, or are there plans to do things further for other lesser known units, or to branch out a little bit into other areas beyond the 82nd? Is Mission 82 kind of is like the grand finale 2026?
We started Mission 82 as an entity that we could maybe potentially bring other projects into. I know it's a bit of a touchy subject for Daz, because I know he spends a lot more time. He probably spends more time on it than his missus would allow. But and it's the same. It's the same for me because we invest so much of our time into it. But I'm sure you can imagine. But we don't. The short answer is at the moment we don't really know. I mean, there are other names. There are other members of the division that were killed whilst in the UK that we would love to remember. There are units of the division that don't have memorials at all, which it would be lovely to change. Ben, I'm sure you know that the 80th Airborne Anti-Aircraft Battalion have got their memorial at the racecourse, but again, it's not when the racecourse is closed, you can't get to it.
Yes, sir.
So it's one of those things. Does that need to be something different? Who knows? But I mean, Mission 82 is it's an unfinished book. Let's call it that. There's potentially more pages to be written, but we'll just have to see.
Outstanding. That's fantastic.
I guess
Yeah.
it's easier to almost geographically, really, because when dealing with local councils, local people, it's easier to go to them with a phone call and have meetings and stuff like that. If we were, for argument's sake, trying to memorialize a unit 200 miles away, we are, we're lucky and we're in position of most of the sites and the history within half an hour, 40 minutes of us. So, I think, as Adam said, it's an open book. We'll see. But for me, I'm just trying to drive the local 80-second connection and make sure those boys get remembered.
That's fantastic. And yeah, that the local connection kind of opens up to my final couple of questions. Due to social media, obviously I'm in Texas in the United States, you gentlemen are in the United Kingdom, but here we are sharing a discussion about things we're passionate about. Have you been able to make global connections with any family members of these men or with the 82nd Airborne Division itself or the 82nd Airborne Association? Have you had any support from across the Atlantic, so to speak, due to those types of connections?
Yeah, I mean we've got some family members. We think we're in contact with the family members of 3 of the 10 that we're going to be memorializing. We think we've got the names of family members for others. The difficulty that we face as Englishmen is making that initial contact with them because it's difficult to contact somebody without it looking like we're just 2 blokes from abroad looking for something or after something. When really what we want to do is let them know that we're what we're trying to do. So in part, yes, we have got some connections. We've certainly got some family members that have shown some keenness to maybe come over for the memorial ceremonies, which would be amazing. That's one of the biggest time limitations that we've got is organising that side of things if we're going to do it. But we would ideally like to be able to contact the family for all 10 of them. That would be amazing. So if there's anyone listening that happens to know a way or can help, that would be amazing.
We'll definitely put out the call.
Yeah. I think it's just a case of, if someone contacted me from the other side of the world and said, I'm going to be doing a memorial to your granddad, I'll be like, wow, and I guess both myself and Adam, we're kind of completely biased and probably yourself, Ben, we're history nerds and we love history, so we would be all over it. And I've come across families that, aren't interested in their family's history. So it's kind of each to their own. So it's, we're trying to plug away, and it's almost technically difficult as well, and Facebook has good points and has bad points. I mean, Facebook is a good point for research because a lot of people across the world are on Facebook. So, you can go on Ancestry, find someone's relative, and you can trace them on Facebook. But down to being in England, we send them a message, say, hi, I'm Darren, this is what I'm doing. I'm memorializing your granddad, your family relation. And it almost goes into like a junk mail or an outbox and never properly delivers. So we've come across probably a lot of family members that we're trying to reach out to and say, hey, we're here, we're memorializing your, as I said, your family member. and we're frustratingly not being able to get that final connection. Um, so we know we're still trying, we're still plugging away. Adam said, obviously it's time sensitive. We don't want to drop meet or make contact with somebody 2 weeks before the memorial, and unfortunately not going to be able to make it, sort of thing. So,
Of course.
yeah, it's time sensitive. So we're trying to. That's another thing we're trying to push for is that connection. But I've got to ask you a question about the 82nd Airborne and the association through a really great guy, Chris Harris, of the 508th Friends and Family Association. He's been a massive help. They've donated some money from the 508th Association. He's in communication with some of the key players within the Division Association, I believe.
Excellent.
So he's kind of trying to fight a corner from the other side of the pond, saying, "Hey, these guys are, memorializing the division. Can we help in any way?" So we've been corresponding with him. So I know he's, as I said, fighting a corner. So we're waiting to see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Something might happen there. And about the division, I've reached out to division, and they're busy guys. They've got other stuff to be going on with, and I
Very
would
true.
imagine they get lots of communication about, oh, can you help with my family and we're doing this memorial, and their priorities are, doing what they do.
That's very true. That,
But I
that
would, on the flip side, again, if anyone's got any help, I would love to be able to have representative of ideally someone from division, someone that at the memorials if possible.
Well, hopefully somebody with some influence hears this and we can get you guys together. It's funny, and certainly don't want to make this about me, but you brought back a memory when I was a young lieutenant in the division back in 1994. It was the 50th anniversary of D-Day at Market Garden at that point, and the division sent a significant element to Normandy for the D-Day memorials, and everybody was dying to figure out how to get to be part of it. Hey, do you speak French? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I had a good friend who was a French speaker. He went, had a wonderful time, came back, and everybody was getting excited about, well, hey, maybe they'll pick some different guys to go to Holland for Market Garden. And then in the middle of all that, a big crisis in Haiti broke out, and the division was scrambling for that. And so the guys who were earmarked to go to Holland, who were like, they were kind of like rubbing everyone's noses in it, they were still going to Holland, and they weren't going to get to go on the big contingency operation. And suddenly they were like, they were scrambling to get out of it so they could go with everybody into an operational situation. And they're like, no, you're going to Holland, dude. And suddenly they were on the sidelines. So I understand what you're saying, that they're busy guys and their focus is elsewhere. It can
Yeah,
be very difficult to kind of pull people back into hey, we would like to memorialize something that happened 80 years ago. Like, well, we're trying to deal with what's happening right now. So I
yeah,
understand what you're saying.
yeah, absolutely.
So, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your time, telling us about your passion project, Mission 82, telling folks how that they can help. I'd like to uh, give both of you an opportunity for any final thoughts. Darren, we'll kick off with you.
Um, just thank you, Ben, for the opportunity to be able to talk about a passion, talk about a project, and how to, hopefully plug and support the project if anyone can. So, firstly, thanks to yourself. I know you've got obviously a personal connection and a history connection to 82nd for your fantastic book project. So yeah, just thank you, and just anyone that's able to, $2, $5, whatever, it all goes into helping these guys get memorialized. So that's it for me, really. I think we've covered everything else. I don't know if Adam's got any words.
No, it's just very much just to echo what you said. Thanks to Ben for allowing us on to talk about this. And again, like that said, anyone that's capable of donating just for smallest amount, it all adds up and it all means the world to us.
Terrific. Hey, gentlemen, thank you. So, everybody, this has been Ben Powers coming at you from the Commander's Voice. My guests this evening have been Darren Bond and Adam Berry from Mission 82. pursuing the very laudable goal of memorializing troopers who lost their lives in England in the build up to D-Day and Market Garden. So, gentlemen, once again, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks,
Thanks
Ben.
for having us. Thank you.